It's a summer day in 2007. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the grass smells like a freshly mowed lawn. It's the perfect day to run around outside, greet your neighbors, and help them out with any tasks they may need. You know, normal tasks like shaking eyeballs out of trees or digging up pencils from the ground. The usual, and what better way to spend the day doing just that? On the brand new Wii game you just purchased called MySims. You heard that right, MySims, not the Sims. There's a difference, people. Keep up with me. MySims was one of the best childhood Nintendo games, and you cannot convince me otherwise. From creating and customizing your own character in town, to exploring unique worlds and socializing with fellow townies, to going on secret missions to stop evil masterminds. This game had it all, and it deserved better. But what happened to MySims? I mean, they were such a staple of the 2000s, and there were so many different games made for the series, and then all of a sudden they were just gone. No more Chef Gino, or DJ Candy, or My Girl Violet. Nintendo moved on with the Wii U and the Switch, and we never got another MySims game until now. Today we're going to discuss not only the rise and fall of the series, but we are going to deep dive into some of the lore of the characters and stories. How is it all connected? What is the timeline? Why does Renee laugh like that? We are going to discuss all of it today. We're first going to start going through all of the different MySims games before we start deep diving into the lore hidden inside. So be sure to stick around to the end to uncover the secrets of MySims. When you first hear the word Sims, you probably immediately think of the iconic life simulation game. You know, the one that involves you creating virtual people, building their houses, making 100 babies, starting kitchen fires, and removing pole ladders to drown the Sims you just spent all that time creating. The epitome of girly gaming. The Sims was developed by Maxis and published through EA Games in the year 2000, and has since become a massive success over the last 2 decades. It was especially popular in North America and Europe, but according to the MySims wiki page, there were concerns about the series' success in Asian countries like Japan. The games always had more of a teen-focused audience, with a big ol' rated T for teens plastered on copies of the games. With all of that, the decision was made to bring the series over to Nintendo consoles, with more of a cute and kid-friendly experience. The MySims characters would be designed with a more chibi-inspired look, and the overall concept was born, with the very first MySims game releasing on the Wii and Nintendo DS in September 2007. Now, obviously, the Wii and DS consoles have a lot of major differences. The Wii has you standing up, using motion controls, and is just overall a larger gaming system, while the DS is small and portable with the stylus and touchscreen as its main feature. So while MySims did release on both, there are a lot of differences between both games. For this video, we'll be mainly focusing on the Wii versions of the games. I can make a bigger deep dive later down the line, but for now, we'll be starting with the first game, the original MySims on Wii. I also wanted to add one more disclaimer. We are deep diving into the stories of each game, so that does mean there will be spoilers ahead. I'll try to let you know when bigger spoilers are going to come up, like when the game ends, but if you really don't want spoilers, I suggest play the games and then come back to this video.
Rated E for everyone.
Entering the world of MySims on the Wii, you're immediately greeted with some adorable cutscenes of the characters in town. The characters in this game are probably what piqued my interest the most as a kid. Each one has their own aesthetic and personality to match. Right away, you're able to create your very own. You can customize their skin tone, hair, clothes, accessories, and even their voice. I always chose the most high-pitched, obnoxious voice possible. You get to name your sim and also your town. The first sim that you're introduced introduced to is the mayor, Rosalind P. Marshall. She explains to you that the town was once a thriving place for Sims of all different personalities to live and express their unique interests. This was thanks to a special resident who had the power to use essences to create all kinds of wonderful things for the townies. The builder is an unknown figure, and one day they mysteriously left town and nobody knows where he went or what happened to him. With that, the town began to change. Sims began to move away. But never fear, all hope isn't lost because we are here. And we have the power to build things with our essences as well. Essences are special items to collect that you'll need to craft specific pieces of furniture and decor. They can pretty much look like anything. They can be fruit, fish, emotions, puppies, rocket ships, Tim, the doll, I don't know. Once you arrive at your town, you get to move right on in by building your very own home and workshop next door. The game also teaches you how to collect these essences. You're given your first task to help the mayor build the special furniture pieces that she needs for the town hall. Once you talk to the Sims and write your task down, you'll be given blueprints for the furniture and your task will be labeled with the essences required to complete it. Essences can be gathered through shaking trees with your Wii remote, fishing in ponds, or any body of water around town, using a metal detector to prospect the ground, or just interacting with the townies themselves. Each townie can drop different essences depending on their personality. Like Poppy drops mostly happy essences, my girl Violet drops some that are spooky, and poor Goth Boy drops some that are sad, even when you're being nice to him. Oh, my deep emotional Goth Boy. He has to be a Scorpio. You're also introduced to Buddy, a sweet and lovable guy who will be a reoccurring Sim character as we move forward. In this game, Buddy is the bellhop at your town's hotel. The hotel serves as a place for random Sims characters to spawn each morning with the desire to move into your town. You can talk with each townie and get an idea of their personality and interests before you ask them to move in. There are 6 different interests: cute, fun, geeky, spooky, studious, and tasty. Some of these interests are complete turnoffs for the townies and will result in personalities clashing. Like, what are we doing here, guys? The Wii game has 80 characters to choose from, while the DS only has about 30, with each star bringing in new townies. You'll specifically want to invite commercial Sims, as they usually have specific businesses they want to open. The businesses will have more items for you to build, and therefore more tasks for you to complete, so you can continue to level up and progress. This game is very build heavy. There are plenty of fans of The Sims who play for that exact feature. There are fans that absolutely love designing the Sims homes and decorating and crafting to their heart's content. I have never been that fan. That's totally fine if you are, but my favorite part of playing The Sims has always been creating characters and stories within the world that I'm given. And that was my favorite aspect of MySims too. For that reason, this first game, the original MySims, isn't necessarily my favorite of the series. I do love getting to see all of the MySims characters in one big space interacting with each other. I love that I can build my relationship with them if I want and become best friends, but the amount of building can get really tiresome for me personally. It becomes really repetitive and kind of like a chore to get done. In the later games, it's definitely not as build heavy though, in my opinion. As you continue on your journey painting furniture, shaking the shit out of trees, and nearly throwing your Wii remote at the screen, you also continue to unlock new areas. Once you reach level 2, you're rewarded with a saw to help you access the forest. And then level 3 gives you a pickaxe to destroy the rocks that are blocking the entrance to the desert. Each location also has new caves to explore and essences to collect. The game also has a day and night mechanic and cycles through the day every day. You can sleep and get rest in various spots in town to force morning to come, which is helpful when you want to have new people show up to your hotel. Your town continues to blossom and grow until you reach 5 stars, and spoiler for what happens then, you are rewarded with a celebration with the best friends you've made in town and a sculpture to gift to one of your fellow townies. A lot of the townies you meet will carry over into future MySims games. I mentioned Poppy and Violet earlier, for example. In this game, Violet is a regular townie sim that you start off with at 0 stars. She's a spooky goth sim who loves dead flowers and summoning ghosts in town, which is very opposite of her little sister Poppy. Poppy is also one of the first sims you encounter at 0 stars, but she's a commercial sim with her own flower shop. She loves rainbows, flowers, stickers, and all things cute. Once you hit star level 1, you'll have the option to move in 3 pretty well-known sims. There's Chef Gino, a world-famous Italian pizza and pasta chef, DJ Candy, a DJ with a passion for music and dancing, and Sir Vincent Skullfinder, a world-famous explorer and archaeologist that gives off pretty spooky vibes. He also has a crush on Violet. In Star Level 2, a few of the Sims you'll meet are Vic, a video game and sci-fi enthusiast who opens up an arcade in town, Roxy, a girl who dresses as a cute honeybee, loves ice cream and all things clean, and Elmira, a grumpy woman who dislikes noise and opens up a library in town. Ms. Nicole Vogue is a snooty fashion model and expert on all things clothes. She'll open up a boutique in town if you decide to invite her. She's also the twin sister of Shirley, a hairstylist who you can invite to move in Star Level 3. Both Shirley and Ms. Nicole are also rivals and can't stand each other. You can also invite Goth Boy, a pessimistic and cynical Sim who loves depressing poetry, and Chef Watanabe, a traditional Japanese sushi chef who opens up a restaurant in town. His son, Jimmy, is someone you can unlock at level 5. By level 4, we'll meet Dr. F, who is a mad scientist who's always coming up with dangerous experiments and has an interest in robots, one of which may be invited into town with you. Makoto is just a regular high school girl at first glance. Her dialogue says otherwise. Makoto is actually a humanoid robot who tries her hardest to blend in and act like one of the other human Sims. Professor Nova is another interesting Sim that can be invited to the town at this level. She is an astronomer, astrologist, and former professor. She's very passionate about otherworldly life forms, which is interesting because there is a UFO that can be found in the junkyard. You know how Sims love their alien stuff. And then there's Yuki, a self-proclaimed vampire who wants to bite your face. By the time you reach level 5, there are so many Sims that have been unlocked that you can invite to your town. There are regular townie Sims like Lewis, a high schooler working on his college application. There's Chaz, who's a daredevil stuntman and likes anything extreme. And then there's Morkubus. Morkubus claims that he is the master of darkness and all of the spooky Sims in town. He mentions that Sims like Mel the Mummy, Yuki, Violet, Raven, Ray, Esma, Crystal, and Blaine are all of his spooky disciples. Another character that I want to mention in MySims that I absolutely adore, but never returns in later games, is Cassandra. Cassandra is a ghost that will appear if one of the spooky Sims like Violet performs a seance. You can only talk to her for a short amount of time before she disappears, but I just think she's such a cool character. It's a bit hard to befriend her, but not impossible, and if you do, she'll give you 3 special blueprints. I also find it interesting that she shares the same name as Cassandra Goth in The Sims. We'll talk a little bit later about how there are connections to the characters in the game with The Sims as well. I just love that there are so many different interactions you can have with the townies. You can have ice cream with Roxy, or play video games with Vic. Small details like oiling a tree in the junkyard and melting it down for metal. Sitting and having a picnic with your friends. It was also just fun to run around and role play in this game as a kid. I know a lot of kids had fun befriending the Sims and choosing one to be their virtual boyfriend and girlfriend. I personally think I would pretend date Goth Boy in the game when I was a kid. It was probably around the time I was going through my Eli from Degrassi phase. And also, the game has such a good sense of humor. The characters are genuinely funny and sometimes completely unhinged. You'll just go over to Patrick's house and he's just doing that. They have hilarious lines that they just drop like this. There's just so much to appreciate and love in this game. Make sure to let me know in the comments who your favorite MySims characters were. So like I mentioned before, the original MySims game for the DS was a bit different. I remember snagging this game at the store, so excited to bring it home and play it, expecting the same kind of gameplay as the Wii because I was a kid and I didn't know any better. It was absolutely not that. I remember it taking a while for me to get invested into the game because it was just so different in comparison. It wasn't bad, I still ended up enjoying it, but there's just a lot less story and character going on. The original MySims received fairly average reviews with gaming critics. Many felt like the building mechanic was a bit repetitive or felt like the world lacked the charm that other games like Animal Crossing had at the time, but I feel like the overall consensus for kids was very positive. I will say the loading screens were a lot, but sometimes they were really funny. Like, why is this loading screen trying to guilt trip me? Overall, the kids were ready for more, and they gave us one even better than the original MySims.
Pelo Palácio! Óptimo! Ah! Haha! MySims Kingdom, rated E for everyone.
MySims Kingdom was my first introduction to MySims, and I'm so glad that it was. This Wii game is absolute gold. It was released about a year later in October of 2008. The game starts with a story told by King Roland. He explains that there was a kingdom that covered the entire world. The world was made of many different lands that held all different kinds of unique Sims. He ruled over all these lands and ordered his wizard to create a collection of magic scepters. These were wands given to the bravest of Sims, known as the Wandaliers. Wandaliers once brought magic and protection to the kingdoms, but many had since left or retired. Parts of the kingdom had been in ruins, and Sims have not been as happy as they once were. But now King Roland is looking for a new Wandalier. Wonder who that might be. So we obviously have a very similar concept to the first MySims. The worlds are falling apart, and we have to be the Sim to step in and bring life back to those worlds and make all the Sims happy again. But Kingdom takes the story and creativity of the original MySims a little bit further. You start off the game creating and naming your character once again. This time we have clothing options that match more of the Kingdom aesthetic. Right away you are dropped into the first of 11 islands, a magical kingdom known as Capital Island. Your Sim is a pig herder with big dreams of leaving to go, well, anywhere but here. I love the animals that were added in this one. Oh my god. Not a single thought behind their eyes. We see some familiar faces, like Buddy. Buddy is now one of your besties, and he has retired his bellhop career and has become the royal messenger of the kingdom. Elmira, who we saw in the previous game as a grumpy librarian, is now a grumpy pig herder who loves to boss your Sim around. Princess Butter, a new addition to the MySims universe and the king's daughter, insults you while also letting you know about the Wandalier competition. She's competing against you and hoping her dad will just let her win. We also meet our other pal in the game, Lindsay. The game really helps to guide the story along, with more cutscenes and dialogue than we saw in the previous one. We're also given tasks once again, but a lot of the tasks are actions to help progress the story, rather than just building furniture pieces for the townspeople. Heading to the Wandalier competition, you learn the basic mechanics of the game. Casting your wand in the air will bring up the blocks and pieces you'll need to build whatever items the island will need. It's similar to how we built smaller furniture pieces in the original MySims, but the items will be placed around your environment. You learn the basics of making buildings, painting them, creating a windmill, and adding some working gears. After competing against Princess Butter and another new Sim friend, Barney, we impress the wizard Marlin with our incredible wandaliering skills. We are announced the winner and receive our very own wand to help any of the Sims in need. Lindsay also receives a magical bag that will help you with essences. Remember those? Tasks will be given to you that require specific essences to build the items needed on the island. You'll still have to shake trees, fish, and dig from the ground to find them, but some other ways to collect essences are also added to the game, like chopping trees for wood and mining with a pickaxe for metal. Mana is a new element to the game as well. Each block required to complete the task will also use up some of your mana, so you'll have to continue to collect mana while on the hunt for your essences. You can also transmute essences from Lindsay and turn them into mana. Socializing is also taken up a notch this time. When you want something from a Sim, you gotta turn on the charm and butter them up a little bit to receive it. This adds another layer of interactability with the Sims, which I think helps you get more invested in the characters as well. Like Elmira was being a total bitch to me at first, and now look, we're besties. Herding is also a new gameplay mechanic that can get a little bit frustrating. You'll have to herd animals into fenced areas or herd a robot's legs over to his head. It makes sense when you play it. After you help everyone on Capital Island, you're sent on a quest to help every island in the kingdom. There's Cowboy Junction, which has a Western theme. There we'll see Chef Gino, who has an outdoor pizza cafe, Sheriff Ginny, who rides around on a fake horse looking for bad guys. Ginny was a character in MySims who went by the name Cap'n Ginny, and she owned a pirate-themed tavern. We see Roxy again, who's a milkmaid, Rusty, the town's robber and a bad guy, and old Gabby, a retired Wandalier who is now working as a blacksmith. Another island you can choose at the beginning is Renee's Nature Preserve. Renee is a young girl who loves animals, especially pigs, and she's the only Sim to have her very own island in the game. You help her build out her nature preserve for all the animals on the island. Something I always found interesting about Renee as a kid was was that she constantly laughs in an evil way. I was always like, what is she hiding? It could just be a glitch in the game's programming. She is an unlockable townie in the original MySims, and I'm pretty sure she doesn't laugh like that in that game, but I'm choosing to believe she's hiding something. In Rocket Reef, you'll find the crazy Dr. F, his assistant Alexa, Vic, who is currently a janitor working for them, and Tobor, Dr. F's robot who's constantly blown up as a test dummy. This island was always so difficult as a kid. I remember being stuck and frustrated with this one and needing my parents' help with it. If you didn't rage quit playing MySims at least once as a kid, you were doing it all wrong. It was also just not my favorite aesthetic, but I will say the music absolutely slapped. And the characters on this one were really funny too. Spokane was one of my favorite islands, although I do remember getting stuck on this one because I couldn't find voodoo doll essences for whatever reason. I remember being a child and having to look it up on YouTube at the time, and there was like no MySims content. On this dark horror-themed island, you'll find Goth Boy, Yuki, and Zombie Carl, who I absolutely loved. There's also a castle here owned by the evil Morcubus, who is the ruler of Spokane. As you continue helping your fellow spooky pals, you will also run into Grandma Ruthie. She was a character you could find in the original MySims who owns a cookie company, and she's trying to set up shop in Spokane after she had to close her shop in Cowboy Junction. You may notice it seems like one sim in particular should be found here too, and you would be right. This was actually Violet's original home. But now Violet can be found on a super cute island called Cutopia. Totally not Violet's vibe, but she's moved here to be with her sister Poppy. Poppy in this game has brown hair this time instead of the black hair she had before. We also meet two new Sims, Duchess Beverly, the ruler of Cutopia, and her son, Lord Daniel. She doesn't like Violet too much, but Lord Daniel likes Violet, and they often have really cute little picnic dates together. There's also Spencer, who we saw in MySims as a gamer who lives in his mom's basement, but now he's a loyal knight and bodyguard for Duchess Beverly. Another cute island that I used to really love going to as a kid was the Forest of the Elves. It's an enchanted forest that also has a rock and roll theme. The forest used to be inhabited by many elves, but now only Leaf and Petal reside here on the island. There's also a boy named Hopper here that's dressed in a frog suit and has made frog friends living on the island. There's also someone else that lives on this island that I find to be really interesting, but hold that thought, we're going to get to that one later. Candy Palooza is a tropical party island hosted by the famous DJ Candy. Sapphire and Zach are new Sims that we meet here that just want to party and dance. Not much else to it. Trevor Island is an island with a theatrical theme. The island is named after Trevor, who loves to act and put on a good show. He's accompanied by two other Sims, Gordon, a smart man who loves a good book, and Linda, another studious Sim who also loves piano music. But if you really want drama, the Royal Academy Island has more of it, if you ask me. I also loved this one too. It's an academic island that's home to a school run by Rosalind, who is now headmistress of the Royal Academy. The 4 students that attend are Sims we saw in the original MySims game. There's Chaz, the extreme Sim, Liberty, who loves snakes, Summer, who's the peppy cheerleader, and Travis, who loves cell phones and is CEO of a party supply company. Both Liberty and Summer want to go to the dance with Travis, so you can see how that one will go. Finally, the last island is the Uncharted Isle. It's a prehistoric island where we find Vincent Skullfinder, Gonk, a hungry caveman who loves waffles, and his girlfriend Sylvia, who dropped out of the Royal Academy to live with him on this island. We also meet Gonk's dinosaur Bobaboo, which is important because I said so. Once you complete every island in the game, you are named Master Wandelier and rewarded with your very own island that you can name and decorate. A dance party is thrown in your celebration. This ending felt so rewarding as a kid. I loved seeing all of the characters together that I helped along the way, and getting to create my very own island amongst all the fun ones that I had just journeyed to was so exciting to little me. I enjoy this ending a lot more than the original MySims that just stand there and cheer at me for several minutes. Even after completing the game, you can still travel to all of the islands to complete extra tasks and interact with all of the friends you made. MySims Kingdom ended up with better reviews than the first game and was nominated for Best Simulation Game for the Wii in 2008. The DS game had mixed reviews, but unfortunately, they just couldn't execute everything that the Wii could. MySims Kingdom is just such a great game. game. Remember when I said I was not so much of a fan of the decorating elements in the first one? Well, it's a lot more tolerable in this one, and dare I say, a lot more fun. This game just feels so colorful, imaginative, and full of life. Nostalgic all around. With the success of MySims Kingdom, 2 more games were released after that I actually had no idea existed until recently, and I probably would have enjoyed as a kid if I had. These games are not super story driven compared to the others. There is a story mode, but it's very brief.
Party on the brain? With 50 minigames on Wii, MySims Party turns any get-together into a blast. Rated E for every.
The first game is MySims Party, which was released in March 2009. This game is basically another version of Mario Party with 50 plus mini games that you could play with your friends. 51 of the Sims from the previous games make a return in this game, which is so random. Why 51? Why not 50? That just bothers me. You start the game off by naming your town and making your Sim character, which is painful, by the way. It's incredibly slow and the controls are pretty garbage in this one. Your goal is to attend festivals in town that hold the mini games. There are 12 festivals that are hosted by a new character called MC Emmy and her monkey friend Mitch. Each of the 12 festivals have a specific theme and a Sim character that hosts that theme. Like Poppy will host the Happy Festival, or DJ Candy will host the Music Festival, and so on. As you continue to play and win the mini games in each festival, you'll be rewarded with monuments for your town and new Sims will move in. There are also stats involved in this game, which is a bit different. Sims have a different range of stats between power, speed, stamina, and luck. This will benefit a player if a specific game requires you to use one of those stats. Outside of playing the mini games and earning items and Sims for your town, there really isn't much else to it. The game received pretty mixed reviews. People seem to like the DS version a little bit more than the Wii, but it must have sold well enough because the next thing you know, we're handed another game with similar vibes to this one, MySims Racing. MySims Party was like Mario Party. Guess what MySims Racing is like?
Make it, race it, win it. MySims Racing. Rated E for everyone.
This game was released just a couple months later in June 2009. You start the game by naming your city and listening to the backstory. It's the same thing we've seen before. The city was full of Sims who had a passion for racing, and Sir Charles was the champion that led them. Then he disappeared in a hot air balloon, and eventually many of the Sims left. The Sims who stayed behind longed for a new racer to come to town and bring the passion of racing back. Same old story. MySims knows their formula, okay? You begin the game by creating your Sim and your cart. Old Gabby is back, teaching you the basics of racing. And what do you know? We have a villain upon us, Morcubus. Remember him? Old Gabby tells him that he won't be selling to him. We're told that he owns Morcu Corp and wants to turn Sir Charles's old racing tracks into landfill. Morcubus had told Sir Charles, or Ace as Gabby calls him, that they should have a race to win the ultimate cup. Whoever won would get the deeds to the town. Sir Charles always liked to go on his hot air balloon before a race, as one does, and he was never seen again.
Oh, Mom, why'd you have to disappear in that hot air balloon? How can I be brave and strong like you? Odie! I'm terrified!
Now Morcubus thinks that this town belongs to him. In this game, you're shown your map of the city. Sims we have met in previous games will pop up with new tasks for you to do, which are just you racing around a track and completing a specific goal. There are 31 Sims from past games in this one, which, again, 31. Why? Why 31? Why not just 30? I don't understand. Again, there's not much else to do in this game other than just continue to race, unlock car parts to add to your car, work on more tasks and beat rival racers, eventually make your way to the championships. Your star ranking will continue to go up, kind of like the original MySims, and you'll unlock other areas to race in. What are these hints? As you continue on, you're told that you will be racing in the Ultimate Cup. We saw a mysterious person earlier on in the story, and it turns out it's none other than Sir Charles. Morcubus had cut his balloon tethers and sent him plummeting towards the ocean? Morcubus was really out here trying to commit murder. Sir Charles is stranded on an island where Gonk and Bobaboo nurse him back to health. So now he's back, but he has 2 bad knees, so he can't really race anymore. We must now race in the name of Sir Charles. We obviously win. The city is saved. Fans of racing came back to town. Morcubus is banished. The reward you get for all your hard work racing is more racing. Sir Charles wants to race you one last time, and you decide to do just that. MySims Racing also received pretty average reviews, but I honestly think I would have really enjoyed playing this one as a kid, both racing and party, honestly. They don't add a lot to the story of the game, but it's fun seeing some of your favorite characters again, and just have a fun time racing around with your friends. If there is more to the story of party and racing, or something hidden that I just missed, please let me know in the comments below.
Uncover the mystery. Assemble the perfect team. Let nothing stop you. Follow the clues. Travel the world. Solve the case. Do you have what it takes to be an agent? MySims Agents, rated E for everyone. Also available on Nintendo DS.
Alright, so now we have to discuss the best MySims game in the series. You heard me right, the best one, MySims Agents. I remember seeing this trailer release in real time on my TV screen, and I knew I had to get my hands on it. I was so excited for a new MySims title, and little did I know that it would end up being one of my favorite childhood games. I literally have this MySims game as a display piece behind me right now. I'm not sure what that says about me as a person. I'm really hoping they bring this one back to Switch as well. Let's get into it. MySims Agents was also released around October 2009. Our best pal Buddy is here again to tell us a very interesting tale. He explains that he created a best-selling comic book about a secret agent that he worked with. This agent is his best friend who helped save the world from mass destruction. And that, my friends, is us. I mean, who else could it be at this point? We're out here just saving towns and kingdoms and racing tracks, I guess. And now the whole world? We are not getting paid enough for this. After Buddy tells his story, you're dropped into create a sim mode once again, now making your sim a super cool secret agent spy person. The first destination is the city, a place where you are the friendly neighborhood detective. Buddy is with you as your little sketch artist sidekick. We see our old friend Chef Gino again making his famous pizzas. Travis is back, having a small role in asking Gino for a summer job. And all of a sudden, your character is interrupted by another familiar face, Poppy. Poppy comes running into the restaurant all distraught about a man trying to kidnap her dog. This is where we are introduced to our big bad villain, Morcubus. Yes, the same Morcubus from the previous games. How many other Morcubuses do you know? He tries to convince you that this dog is his and is named Killfang. Yes, the evil laugh is very convincing. This is the start of your very first mission in the game. We learn how to snoop and examine the world around us to find clues. We're also able to use a magnifying glass to look at footprints, or in this case, paw prints. We also get to beat the shit out of things with a crowbar this time. More throwing our Wii remotes at the TV screens. Our parents loved that. Dumpster diving. Very sanitary. After discovering all of the clues we need, we come to the conclusion that Morcubus, in fact, does not own that dog. Shocking, I know. Him stealing the dog was just for entertainment, I guess. Morcubus lets us know that we will rue the day.
You'll rue this day, you'll rue it!
After all of that drama, a mysterious man shows up to Chef Gino's restaurant in the hopes of finding us. He's impressed with our detective skills. The man, Agent Walker, lets us know that Morcubus is the CEO of Morcu Corp, a corporation that owns most of the city. He also lets our sim know that our application was approved to the SPA, the Sim Protection Agency. We start off as a junior agent, solving small mysteries around the city. We help Chef Gino find his maps that were stolen from his safe during the fire that this evil little guy Derek Derek started. He's a new MySims character from what I know. We also help our girl Shirley figure out who her secret admirer is, the mayor, who is quite the sketchy character. Turns out he's also working for Morcubus. Some other Sim faces in town from previous games are Patrick, who is now a construction worker instead of a retired truck driver. 2 other townie Sims from the first game can also be seen around the city. Rhonda, who is a random townie Sim, party girl that loves mottos, and Lewis, originally a guy who was obsessed with his college application and is now running a newsstand. Something I find interesting about Lewis is that in MySims Racing, he can be seen as one of the Morcu Corp employees, which usually means you're a bit of a shady character, to an extent. I think Goth Boy was just roped into this. But my point is, what are you doing behind the newsstand, Lewis? Blending well into the background, I see. After helping everyone in the city, your Sim is then promoted to Special Agent. Taking the train will bring you over to your very own headquarters. The first thing we take notice of is a familiar face outside of the headquarters, snooping around. It's Yuki, the vampire girl from earlier. She's being extra sus right now. Inside, we also see Jenny, a townie from the original MySims who loves sci-fi fan fiction and doesn't really care to be here. And then there's Miss Roxy. The girl went from owning a sweet little ice cream shop to raising cows on Cowboy Junction to becoming a chemical scientist for Special Agent headquarters. We love a queen that can do it all. A queen bee, that is. Don't click off my video. The headquarters acts as a home base for players. You can change your outfit with any that you've unlocked during your journey. There are 5 floors and each floor can be painted and customized with unlocked furniture and decor. And there's also dispatch missions. Something that was a bit confusing to me when I first started playing the game as a kid, but something that becomes very important to the game later. Dispatch missions are mini side quests that you can send Sims on while you're playing the game. You recruit the Sims that you meet along the way, with each Sim having specific skills that would help them out during the mission. Pretty much involves you getting annoying phone calls from your recruits and answering questions that they may have. The frustrating part, at least to me as a kid, was that a lot of the missions would be really long and tedious and very easy to fail. Each mission has a little star rating to show you how difficult they may be, and literally one question that you answer wrong can fail your entire mission. And it wasn't easy guessing, at least not for me. I always thought I was picking the right answer and it would be completely wrong. So then you have to start all over again from the beginning. I did find it interesting to see how the different recruits would interact with each other during the missions. Like if you send Gordon on a mission with Elmira, for example, he will fall in love with her. You are now a special agent with your own headquarters and a private jet, so now the real games can begin. We're going to head on out when... Who is this bad bitch? This queen is named Evelyn Gray, and she's come here with a mystery. Someone has ransacked her apartment, and it seems like Morcu Corp could be involved. So now it's back to the city. After searching around for clues and talking to Shady Derek, we hear a girl's name, Esma, mentioned, and discover that Morcu Corp minions are involved in the disappearance of Evelyn's dad's journal. There was an exchange between them and an unknown individual, and we already know that Mayor Skip Rogers was involved with Morcu Corp. So we have to get some solid evidence against him, and we do. And we call him out on his BS, and he gives us the journal back. Morcubus wanted the journal in order to find out more information about a man who used to work with Evelyn's father. The man's initials are PW, and he may be located in the mountains. So we can finally take our jet out of here and go off to some new locations. Like MySims Kingdom, there are a few different locations, all with different aesthetics to travel to. Each location also holds some new Sims to meet. The first stop is the mountains. Phoebe is a townie character from MySims who calls herself the Bunny Princess. She's upset because her boyfriend Preston is missing. We also see 2 more familiar faces here. Rosalind, who we saw earlier as the mayor and headmistress of the Royal Academy, is now an agent alongside Vic. As you may remember from the 2 previous games, the guy who's really into video games and getting himself launched into space. They're government agents and kind of just a pain in the ass. There's also this talk about Preston getting kidnapped by a Yeti, so now our mission is to find it. There's also Nova running a little Yeti gift shop as a Yeti superfan. I also wanted to mention some differences between this game and some previous titles are the platforming and puzzle solving mechanics. There are times where you have to jump across buildings or keep your balance walking across narrow spaces. You're also given multiple gadgets to help you unlock puzzles. You can hack computers, repair machines, machines, analyze suspicious substances, and pick locks. I really enjoyed most of these features as a kid, but I definitely got stuck and frustrated sometimes. We're also still on the hunt for this PW guy, alongside finding Preston, whose name coincidentally starts with a P. After being a super secret agent detective spy all around the mountains, we finally find Paul the Yeti, who I love. Look at him. He's the cutest. And his full name is Paul Wisniewski, PW. I know you're all shocked right now. Paul worked on lab experiments alongside Evelyn's father. They created a special crown that would change the world. Well, it turns out the crown actually did terrible evil things, and it was named the Crown of Nightmares. Poor baby Paul got turned into a Yeti. He doesn't really remember much of what happened, but he does know that Morcubus wanted the crown. He didn't get it, but that could be what he's after now. Oh right, Preston is still missing. Wrong! He shows up claiming he was attacked by a Yeti and framing Paul. Preston very much gives "my father will hear about this" energy, and BB is just oblivious, but she's cute, so we love her anyways. Oh my god, BB, what the fuck? Did I mention the humor is still so on point? Like, I genuinely laugh out loud playing these games. Look at my poor Paul all handcuffed and sad. So we do some more investigating to prove Paul's innocence. Turns out it was just Preston dressed up and damaging the property to cause the lodge to close down so he could purchase it. So we're all now thinking that maybe Morcubus wants to make a new Crown of Nightmares. Why? Because he's evil, of course. Now we're taking the train to the industrial district. We run into two of our old pals from MySims Kingdom, Barney and old Gabby. They're honestly just yapping at each other. We decide to help them out and start investigating around town. We also see two girls here being very suspicious, Brandy and Esma. Does the name Esma ring a bell to you? Yes, these two girls are working for Morku Corp and seem to be up to some shady business. We also find our old pal Tobor. Dr. F's lab is also nearby. We see him and Alexa again. And we also have a bumping club in town with DJ Candy, Sapphire, Zach, and Makoto. I always thought the way they danced was so funny. Look at them go. One of our missions here involves us trying to figure out a mysterious noise that's happening in the club. We have to go underground and do some snooping. Turns out it's Brandy and Esma's doing. Go figure. The two of them are mining for a mineral called Destinite. Destinite can be transmuted into Fortunite. Fortunite is the crystal found in the Nightmare Crown, so it does seem that Morcubus is trying to make one for himself. He'll have to find the original crystal though in order for him to make his own. So we're on to the next big mission. After reading her dad's journals, Evelyn discovers the word Fortunite was mentioned along with a man named Cyrus. Unfortunately, Cyrus is no longer with us, but his niece, Zoe, is gathering his friends and family at a dinner party. So maybe she'll know more about this. We find out Poppy and her sister Violet are invited, so Poppy gives us her invitation. Now we're all dressed up and ready to go to a spooky mansion. The friends that we find at this party are Carl, the zombie we met originally in Spokane, Gordon and Trevor from Trevor Island, Ms. Nicole was the fashionable townie in the original MySims, Madame Zoe, who we also met in MySims as a fortune teller, and Poppy's sister Violet, who has now been in like every single MySims game at this point. Madame Zoe gathers everyone around so she can read Cyrus's will, but disaster strikes pretty quickly as someone has destroyed the Fortunite in the crystal room. Now it's up to us to figure out who the evil mastermind here is. Our sim is pretty sure it's Carl at first, which breaks my heart because look at him. He's so sweet and he didn't do anything wrong. Violet believes him though, because she's iconic and I love her. So now we have to figure out this again. After doing our investigative thing, it all leads us back to Zoe, who swapped the real crystal for a fake one and hypnotized Carl to smash it. The entirety of the estate goes to our girl Violet. Violet also gives us more lore and tells us that her mother and Cyrus were good friends. Her and Poppy would play together in the mansion when they were little. Violet said Cyrus was like an uncle to her, and that he and her mother were part of a group that researched the properties of Fortunite. That group was the same group that worked on the Nightmare Crown, and that the first time the crown was used, it turned poor Carl into the zombie he is today. Violet thinks that Morcubus won't be able to make another crown himself, but that he can make a powerful enough crystal to replace the Fortunite. That's all the confirmation we need that he's still after the original one. We also learn the original crown was actually made by Evelyn's dad. He disappeared along with the Nightmare Crown. We've taken the crystal with us, and now it's on to our next adventure. We are off to the beach. We have quite a lot of characters here in this location. Some townies we see at the beach include Clara, Taylor, Summer, and Chaz. Justice is a new sim that runs a tattoo shop. Dr. F and Tobor are also here. Chef Watanabe is back making another appearance. Goth Boy is running a turkey on a fork stand. Yuki is also here running a MUBA stand instead of a scuba stand. I'm sure she's not doing anything odd or suspicious. And oh my gosh, Tim! I completely forgot Tim was in this game. Tim was also a loved character from the MySims DS games. This is the only Wii game that he appears in. There's also a new surfer sim named Luke, and this is the only game he appears in the franchise. That is some dark humor, Tobor. Oh my god. Our first case at the beach is to find out who released a bunch of crabs from their cages in the water. While on this mission, we find a Morku Corp submarine in a hidden cave. It's a submarine that Yuki had been using to get around. The next case, Luke tells us about some surfboards that have been smashed up. Claire keeps talking about her sea monster friend, Mr. Suckers, and explains that he was the one to break the boards. Everyone keeps gaslighting her and telling her that Mr. Suckers is imaginary, but we end up discovering that he was real the whole time. He did smash the boards, but he was just having a hard time due to a ton of noise on the beach recently. I wonder if Yuki and her little submarine have anything to do with that. Our sim talks with Buddy and ponders why Yuki would need to be underwater in the first place. We come to the conclusion that she could be looking for something. The Nightmare Crown, perhaps? Perhaps Evelyn's dad and Cyrus brought it on the ship to take it away from Morkubus, but the ship went down with the crown. But how are we going to figure out what she's after? Dr. F and Tobor offer to help us with our deep sea journey. Now we get to control Tobor, which gives us new mechanics while we platform. Once we find a ship, we also discover a faded map that shows the location of a hidden temple. I think we know where we need to go next. Our very last stop on this crazy journey. Your sim is off in their jet one final time. Buddy, who's usually yapping our ear off during transitions, is silent this time around. Our story is coming to an end. The last location is the Jungle Temple. Lindsay is there to greet everyone and act as a tour guide. Vincent Skullfinder is standing at one of the temples. His occupation hasn't changed much from the first MySims game. He's a famous explorer and archaeologist, and he's currently after some treasure. We also find some pedestals at the temple that need to be activated using elements from the earth. There's water, earth, fire, and wind. Okay, Last Airbender. Some lemurs help us activate the earth pedestal. We find a horn for Buddy to use on the wind pedestal. Lindsay holds some pure water on top of the water pedestal, and Evelyn has a torch on the fire pedestal. With all of the pedestals activated, we can finally get inside the temple. A crazy man named Mike is found inside talking about squirrels and TVs and such. He announces himself as King Mike, guardian of the temple, and then he runs away. Chasing after him, his name is now labeled as King Mike, which I find humorous, and he tells us he wants some friends. We find him some friends because this is quickly becoming Castaway. He's very happy with them, and we finally get our hands on the Nightmare Crown that we've been after the whole time. The crystals return to the crown, and it turns out Mike here is Evelyn's dad. It's a happy reunion and everything is okay until Morkubus and the Morku girls show up. They take the crown like the dweebs they are. God damn it, they were tracking us the entire time. And one last chance for spoilers, my friends. Morkubus wants to activate the crown's evil powers, and Evelyn, being the baddie that she is, tries to stop him. She jumps up and pushes Morkubus to stop him, but as a result, they both end up trapped in the nightmare realm. I need you guys to understand. Little me was crushed, baffled, astonished. Not only was I like, what the actual fuck, but the bigger what the fuck was that that's how the game ends? Technically? Roll credits? Now, like I said, little me was not going to stand for this. I was like, there is just absolutely no way. So I did what I had to do and Googled it. It turns out there is a way to get Evelyn back. There is an alternate ending. If you complete all of the dispatch missions. Remember those little mini missions you technically should have been working on in the background? You have to have completed 50 of those missions all the way up until you would get the final one, called One More Time, with a difficulty level of 5. You have to put the best team together and you can send them out to the Nightmare Realm to save Evelyn. The group will find Evelyn and Morkubus, but if you want to save her, it will mean releasing Morkubus as well. You can abandon Morkubus, which would save the world, but you would be leaving Evelyn trapped in the Nightmare World forever, which is kind of messed up in my opinion. I'm not abandoning my girl, excuse me. We've been through so much together, like the beginning of the game, the end of the game. Anyways, if you choose to save both Evelyn and Morkubus, Morkubus escapes. And now Agent Walker is pissed and trying to make you feel bad, which I don't think is very fair. What you had to do is protect your city. Bitch, you let us all go on this mission. You left us in charge of this agency, if I recall. Everyone is reunited and all is well. We convince Agent Walker that we'll be sure to stop Morkubus if he ever tries to mess with us again. Now, I think most of us who played this game and absolutely loved everything about it were really disappointed in this ending. I know I was. I feel like the dispatch mission of it all was a bit of a cop-out. It just made the true ending of saving Evelyn feel really rushed and not very impactful. That doesn't take away from how much I love this game though. What's interesting about this ending is it leaves you feeling like there has to be more. And there was supposed to be. There was supposed to be a MySims Agents 2. MySims, if you are watching this, please bring MySims Agents back. I love the mystery aspect of this game. There are moments where, even as an adult, you're unsure of the direction the game will take. The whole concept was so fun and interesting as a kid. I really loved getting to know all of the characters even further and trying to figure out the bad guy's evil plan, how all of the characters fit into the narrative, seeing them all interact with each other in new ways. The gameplay itself is fun. The comic, detective art style is adorable. The game's music is just bop after bop. It's truly something special, and I'm so glad I was able to experience it when it came out. Definitely give this one a play if you haven't already. So like I had mentioned, we were supposed to get MySims Agents 2. On May 12th, 2023, Brian Kaiser, who was a designer on MySims Agents, posted on Twitter sharing an old story outline for the MySims Agents 2 game, giving us a glimpse at what potentially could have been. I'll share a link to where you can read the messages in the description below, and you can also pause to read on the screen. But I wanted to give you all a brief summary of the MySims Agents 2 outline that was shared. In part 1, you would start off in Skip Rogers' mansion. Agent Walker would provide you with support over the radio. After looking for evidence of his corruption, you would go back to headquarters, where there is a new director of the SPA, Director Morgan. Director Morgan is changing up everything about the HQ and has everyone working there uncomfortable with the way things are going. Agent Walker lets you know there are strange things happening around the world and wants you to investigate. While Director Morgan tells you there is no point and you should be focusing on real crime, you follow Agent Walker's lead and end up at an abandoned amusement park. Agent Vic is there to assist you with the mission as well. A character named Dragomir is spotted, looking sketchy. Once you head back to HQ, you find Roxy and Jenny locked out of the building with their stuff in boxes. Director Morgan is there, talking about restructuring and firing everyone in the building. Walker wants you to keep investigating while he figures out what's going on with the SPA. He thinks that Morgan's two advisors may be influencing her decisions. Your next stop is the castle ruins. Using a new detector, you investigate the strange happenings in the world. Sims and animals are all acting odd, with some Sims even disappearing. Another Sim who is giving off very suspicious energy is spotted, named Svetlana. We think she may have something to do with Dragomir as well. Once you head back, you discover that Agent Walker is missing. As you investigate the scene, you find a building with a recording from Walker inside. If you're hearing this, then they already got me. The SPA can no longer be trusted. This building's location is secret. You're going to make it your new HQ. The agency isn't going to save the world this time. It's all up to you. The building goes underground for several floors and becomes home to a new HQ as you bring back your best secret agents pals. In part 2, with your new team in place, you continue working on cases all over the world. You end up tracking down the source of the strange behavior, and it turns out that it's energy coming from the nightmare realm that is seeping through portals. Dragomir and Svetlana are agents in the nightmare realm. They have the power to control people's minds and may be the one who are advising Dr. Morgan. They're preparing the world for their master from the nightmare realm. You get attacked from behind and knocked out. When you wake up, you're in a holding cell with none other than the evil Morkubus. You work together to escape. Your job now is to stop the bad guys from using Morkucorp's experimental energy amplifier to spread their dark power over the entire world. You shut down the amplifier, but now you're shoved into the nightmare realm. The finale of the game would have been the craziness of the nightmare realm, where everything is turned upside down. The different worlds you went to would be all mixed together. The Sims you met are nightmare versions that taunt you. You find Agent Walker, and just as you're able to open the portal again, Director Morgan is back. She's the master of the nightmare realm and has been in control of Dragomir and Svetlana the entire time. You have to take her on. Honestly, this would be epic if it were a boss battle, since we've never seen anything like that in these games. But once she's defeated, you close off the nightmare realm forever. At the end of the game, Walker thanks you for saving the world. There will need to be a new director of the SPA, and who better than you, who's pretty much been doing that all along. I really like that story, honestly. I would have loved to see a ton of callbacks from the first one with the friends we made originally, and also see some new locations with some new characters. Bring back some old characters like Cassandra. Seeing the nightmare realm would have been awesome. Obviously, this isn't officially what it would have been, but this is an old outline from a designer that was on the team, and that's just so cool to me. I'm so glad we got to see a small glimpse of what could have been. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm so curious. If you don't like that version of the story, let me know what you would have liked to see. What would have made the perfect ending to MySims Agents? So let's talk about the absolute hot mess of a game that MySims Agents 2 was scrapped for. And it's the final game in the series, so we were left on a bit of a sour note. MySims Skyheroes.
When a madman conquers the skies, a renegade team of pilots must win them back. Chaz, the high-speed big shot. Star, special weapons ninja master. Only one pilot can lead them to victory. You create your hero, team up with your friends, and save the skies. New MySims Skyheroes, rated E10+.
The game was released at the end of September 2010. It was also the first MySims game to release on other consoles like the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. When the trailer came out for this game, I was so excited. Not that a game about flying in the sky generally interested me, but I kind of expected this game to be similar to MySims Agents. And I figured that the plane flying aspect was just gonna be a cool mechanic in the game. Boy, was I wrong. So heading into MySims Skyheroes, we're met with epic music and an urge for another incredible adventure. You start off making your sim, you know, the usual. You get to also customize your plane, similar to how we were customizing our cars in MySims Racing. The story starts with two sims speaking with the evil Morcubus, Rose and Raphael. Morcubus is looking to destroy some team of pilots' base. Looks like it may be called Skyforce. And now, your sim character is seen washed up on the beach and stranded. A new sim named Selena and Derek, who we saw previously, discover your sim. They take you back to their base. Okay, Queen Violet is here. That's something at least, right? Summer's here too, and old Gabby. Basically, they're just saying that they don't know who you are or anything about you, but they're glad you're here because they can use some more pilots on their team. You also don't know who you are either. Whoopity-doo. You meet the rest of your Skyforce team that also includes a new sim named Finn, and also Martin, who actually is a character that was only in the DS and mobile game. Yes, there was a MySims mobile game. I can't even get into that right now. Almost immediately, you're sent into the new gameplay of Skyheroes, or should I say, the only gameplay. You fly using the control sticks, fire missiles into the air, track targets, and try to take them out. There's no walking around and interacting with Sims at all in this game. You pretty much go out on your mission, then you're back to base with the Sims characters talking at you for a brief moment. You're assigned the next thing you need to do, and then you're out flying again. It's genuinely so boring. We get another similar background to all of the previous games we've seen. It's always that the location used to be a happy place with lots of happy Sims, and all of a sudden something happened and the Sims left or moved away or disappeared. This time, there used to be a free sky where Sims could fly as they pleased and make their living. Then Morcubus took it away and now owns the whole sky, I guess. How do you do that? Oh, sorry. I guess the Morcu Corp security squad will just bully people into believing the sky is theirs. Like that's any better. We're told that Morcubus hired some sky bandits called the Chaos Pirates. And apparently that sounds familiar to us. Wonder why that could be. Oh, it's probably nothing. Anyways, we're just trying to get the skies back, I guess. After a few missions of the same thing, we're told we need to recruit as many pilots as we can to join our team. There are multiple different teams of Sims that we need to recruit. It's mainly a team of 3 every time with a different name. You find the mechanical team, the Sci Flyers, which is made up of Dr. F, Alexa, and Tobor. There's the Air and Sea Patrol with Barney, Lindsay, and his daughter Myra. There's the Crescent Moon team with Jimmy, Cage, and Star. Gal Force 4 with DJ Candy, Sylvia, and Evelyn. Like, what? Spectre Squadron with Goth Boy, Raven, and Zombie Carl. Team McFreely with Chaz, Sapphire, and Vic. And then the Fortune Hunters, who are one of the more villainous teams, mainly working for Morcubus because he's paying them well. Vincent Skullfinder, Skip Rogers, and Yuki are a part of this team. This story is honestly a lot of back and forth. You go to one of the teams, they'll either have a task for you, or they'll be like, no, I'm not joining your Skyforce team unless maybe you can beat me in a sky race. And then you do. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll join. Or they'll betray you and then sell their weapons to Morcubus. It's just kind of the same thing over and over again. You don't walk anywhere. You're pretty much just stuck in this first person mode, talking to the pilots as they have new missions for you. Their animations and emotes are incredibly bland. None of the characters genuinely sound like themselves anymore. Literally the only thing that Violet said that sounded remotely like her was that she was doing this to keep her little sister Poppy safe. And remember how we just discussed the villains of MySims Agents 2? Well, they decided to use Dragomir and Svetlana here in this game as two of Morcubus's evil minions. So the more the story goes on, a plot twist happens. A plot twist I'm sure none of you saw coming. We, our Sim, used to work for Morcubus as a chaos pirate. Justice had actually shot us down. After that reveal happens, we decide we really want to still be a part of Skyforce and work for the good guys. So eventually we learn that Morcubus is working on a really big aircraft called Ragnarok. So we're like, okay, let's go take it from him. And we also capture two of his little minions at one point, Raphael and Rose. So once we do all of that and recruit every pilot possible, we're like, oh yeah, we're ready to roll. We can take down Morcubus now. That is until another plot twist. The Ragnarok blows up. It was a trap. And Justice gets hit by the shrapnel. So Derek, who barely trusted us in the first place, is all, this was all clearly your idea to our Sim character. Then Justice comes back after getting blown up. He lives. And he's like, oh my god, stop. This is what Morcubus wants. For us to turn on each other. Very inspirational. And we all devise a plan to make Morcubus believe that we actually did go back to the dark side. We release Rose and Raphael from their cell, and then we steal a shield generator from the Skyforce in order to prove to Morcubus how evil we are. After we help Morcubus, he decides to give us his villain backstory on why he wants to control the skies. Wait for it. He needs the airspace to make room for his giant Morcubus balloons. They will be the star attraction in the Morcubus Day Parade. And just like that, any ounce of hope that you felt that playing this game for all of those hours could maybe be worth it. Out the window, in the trash. I hate this game. And you may also be wondering, Maya, where's Buddy? He was like a main character. He was our best pal in all of the other games. Where is he? I was wondering that too. Well, as you continue on your missions, you end up unlocking characters that you could play in multiplayer mode. And Buddy is one of 11 characters. 11. Like my day couldn't get any worse. What is it with MySims and the uneven numbers? They're trying to torture me. But yeah, pretty much those characters don't do anything at all for the story, so sad. The game ends as predictable as you think. You and the Skyforce work together to defeat Morcubus and his goons in the final battle. There's a final cutscene of you celebrating with your friends, and Morcubus is behind bars, and the skies are free. That's it. Roll credits. I'm just not sure who the target audience was for this one. Most of the fans of MySims love the game for either the building and decorating aspects or the characters and the storylines. This game doesn't have either of those things. You're just flying around in a ship constantly. No interactability, no cute decorating, nothing that makes MySims MySims. It doesn't feel like a MySims game at all, aside from the characters that they threw in there. I barely played this game at all as a kid. After a few missions, I put my Wii remote down in disappointment and felt really guilty that my parents spent money on this game at all. If there are fans of MySims Skyheroes out there, let me know in the comments. Tell me why. I'm not here to judge, I just want to know why. And if that's the case, I'm sorry for shitting on your favorite game. So after this game, MySims sadly just disappeared. Nintendo was working on their upcoming consoles, the Wii U in 2012 and the 3DS in 2011, and there were no MySims games made for either of those consoles. I think that MySims really had something special, and I really think that with Kingdom and then with Agents, they were really moving in the right direction. But Skyheroes was a big disappointment for fans. I'm sure overall with mainly average reviews, it probably didn't seem worth continuing for EA, but the fans of MySims still remained. Now I want to go into some fun facts about the game and then dive a little bit more into the timeline as well. In MySims Kingdom, there are 11 islands. Remember, 11? There were actually supposed to be 12 islands, but one got scrapped. This island was called Shipwreck Cove. If If you take a look at the cutscene at the very beginning of the game, you can see an image of Shipwreck Cove in the corner. The MySims wiki tells us that it was going to be a grassy island that was surrounded by rocks, sandy beaches, and at least 4 severed boats. There would also be 5 buildable areas on this island. Myra, Barney's daughter, who we saw in MySims Skyheroes, would have been one of the main characters added to this island. Apparently, she would have been hypnotized in the storyline. I wonder if she would have been hypnotized by one of the other characters we would have seen on this island, a character named Nima. Nima has a mermaid-like appearance, hence why she could have had hypnotic powers like a siren would. She is seriously so cute. Oh my gosh, I would have loved to see her in the game. We also would have seen Vice Admiral Morgan here, the character that would have been the antagonist in MySims Agents 2. She's dressed in spooky pirate clothing, so I can guess she was probably meant to be a villain on this island as well. There also would have been Theodore, dressed up in spooky pirate gear too. It looks like he could have been a minion of Morgan's. We'll never know, but it's really cool to see what could have been added in the game. MySims Agents actually had 2 levels that were meant to be in the game as well. There was meant to be a space level and Atlantis. You know what? Why are we scrapping all of the things that could have had mermaids in it? That's honestly what I want to see. The MySims wiki also states that on a now defunct MySims Agents official website, it had said that over 100 characters would appear in the game, but there were actually only 80 characters in the game, so that would mean at least 20 characters were removed. We know that 2 of the characters that were cut were actually going to be cameo characters. One was a character named Isaac Clarke, the protagonist of a game called Dead Space. They ended up removing him from Agents and making him a playable character in Skyheroes. Another cameo would have been from Faith Connors, a character from the game Mirror's Edge. She was going to be added in Skyheroes as well before getting scrapped. Lastly, there was Madison Gray. Madison Gray was going to be the twin sister to Evelyn. Another small thing in MySims Agents that I find to be really interesting is there's mention of an unknown character named Ivy. If your sim finds a Firefighter Carl trophy, our sim will say, "Looks like something was carved here, but the weather has taken its toll. I can only make out a small part. ... us love ... Ivy," which could mean Cyrus loves Ivy. In Game at the Boardwalk, a map to the Jungle Temple can be found. It says, "Ivy, keep this safe. No one knows where the crown is going." Some have speculated that Ivy could be Violet and Poppy's mother, who we do see in a cutscene with Cyrus. She's also named after a plant like Violet and Poppy. Another little fact that I discovered while researching the game as well is that there was actually going to be a MySims Sports. A lot is unknown about what this game would have looked like. Emi Toyonaga, who was a designer with MySims, actually the one who had the idea for the cute chibi character designs, tweeted out some old art concepts for the Sims designs. Fans of the game took notice of a few designs that didn't look familiar. Emi writes on Twitter in 2019, "We were working on a MySims Sports title, but it got cancelled along with the franchise since the Wii games were not selling well anymore. I wish the Sims team can go back and revive the MySims for Switch someday. I have so many ideas." We need your ideas, Emmy. Something I was really interested in trying to figure out as a kid was how the games were connected. Obviously, we're seeing the same Sims characters, but they're in different locations with different occupations. Sometimes they look a bit different or sound a bit different too. But I was determined to figure out a timeline for these games. And I really thought I cracked the code. Remember how I said that there was someone interesting you could find on the Forest of the Elves island? Well, that someone is a girl robot that looks similar to Tobor. I remember seeing her as a kid and trying to talk to her and being super confused. When you approach her, she's stuck in a specific position, and when you talk to her, it seems that she thinks she's a tree. If you continue to talk to her and complete her task, we'll be able to enter an access code to reprogram her to act like a robot again. Once you get her working again, it's revealed that she's actually Dr. F's robot, and none other than Proto Makoto. That's right, this is the version of our robot girl Makoto before she became a more human-like robot. This would mean that MySims Kingdom would have taken place before MySims and MySims Agents, since we see her in human form in those games. Another detail to prove that Kingdom came earlier in the series is that if you send Violet out on a specific dispatch mission in MySims Agents, She'll mention Qtopia and Spokane, wondering if they were harmed. So Violet remembers the 2 places that she used to live. Not only that though, but there's something else I thought was a pretty small detail that was overlooked and could maybe help us figure out the timeline. Remember how I mentioned Poppy's hair is brown in MySims Kingdom? I brought that detail up for a reason. I know there are moments in the series where small details are changed. It could honestly just be accidental or intentional from the designers. It's hard to say. Well, this one I felt was a little more purposeful. Poppy's hair is black in every single one of the games except for MySims Kingdom. That is until you see a flashback in MySims Agents when Violet is talking to us. She tells us about her mother and her relationship with Cyrus, and in the background you can see a young Violet playing with her baby sister Poppy. Poppy has brown hair here, so when she has brown hair, that would have to be before MySims, Agents, and all of the other titles. According to the MySims wiki, they were going to give her brown hair like Kingdom in MySims Agents, but it's possible they made that change last minute because they wanted to follow a specific timeline. Or I'm reading way too much into it, which is fair, but it's a lore video, so I'm trying to channel my inner Mad Pat. I miss him so much already. With all of that being said, I was ready to present this to you. MySims Kingdom came first. It was an old kingdom long ago filled with magic and wandaliers. Then the Sims of the kingdom said, screw this. I want to do my own thing. Moved out, found a town, your town, in MySims, where they could all express their interests in their very own buildings. And then MySims Agents came after that. Everyone, again, has their own place, and we're just a little bit more zoomed into the story and the experiences of each character. Notice how I'm ignoring Skyheroes because that would mean that everyone dropped everything they ever had and ever were to go fly some planes for a war for some reason? Well, then something was discovered that completely changed all of my thinking. In MySims Agents, if you send Rosalind into the dispatch mission called Time for Toast, she says, and I quote, "I think Dr. F's time machine malfunctioned. I just saw an alternate reality where I was a mayor trying to get people to move into my town. I have no words." So this proves that MySims, the original game, is an alternate reality. So at this point, this is just the MySims multiverse. I think it was all Lewis and Renee. They teamed up and created the multiverse just to piss me off and ruin my timeline. So obviously I failed coming up with a cohesive timeline, and I've accepted that. But I also wanted to mention some other connections. Since this is all one big multiverse now, I guess, MySims has plenty of Easter eggs that involve the Sims, which I think is really fun. Remember Elmira, the Sim who hates noise and yells at us in MySims Kingdom? Well, if you take a look at her profile, it will say, Elmira hates noise, and she hates Sims who make noise. Like her auntie Crumplebottom taught her, the best mouth is a shut mouth. This would be in reference to Agnes Crumplebottom, who is a well-known Sim in the Sims franchise. They definitely have similar traits, as Agnes Crumplebottom is known for lecturing you and beating you with a purse if she sees public displays of affection. In The Sims, the Crumplebottoms are also related to the Goth family, which is another famous family in the Sims world. With all of the spooky characters you find in MySims, I knew there had to be something related to the Goth family somewhere. It turns out in Goth Boy's house, he has 3 paintings on his walls, each named Mortimer, Bella, and Alexander, who are members of the Goth family. There are lots of small references to MySims in the Sims games as well. One that you can find is in The Sims 3. There's a deceased Sim you can find in the graveyard in Sunset Valley. They have the name Vincent Skullfinder. Sims 4 has the most references though. There were 5 MySims characters that were added as townie Sims in The Sims 4. Travis, Liberty, Summer, DJ Candy, and Yuki. There are also 20 MySims trophies that you can find in the game. I'm also a lover of the regular Sims series, so seeing all of these Easter eggs in both games just brings me so much joy. So I'm sure many of you know, but for those who don't, after nearly 14 years of no MySims games, MySims is finally making a comeback. The MySims Cozy Bundle was just released for the Switch on November 19th, which is so crazy and so exciting. I obviously had to get my hands on it. The Cozy Bundle includes both MySims and MySims Kingdom, which I think are 2 games that perfectly fit together and a great way to get some new people into the series. The games are a re-release, so they're pretty much the exact same game with a few tweaks to the graphics, controls, and some other small extra things here and there. I'm so happy to see this series finally finally have the comeback that it deserves, and I really hope that we see Agents next. I really hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the lore of MySims. I know there's still so much more that can be talked about, so if I missed anything, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Let me know your favorite character and your favorite game of the series. Let me know what nostalgic topics from the 2000s you'd like for me to cover next. And if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It lets YouTube know that you're enjoying my content so that I can continue to make more for you all. You can also check me out on Twitter and Instagram at MyFaithDraws. And I did make a little MySims drawing over there for you to check out. And as always, thank you so much for being here. It means the world, and I can't wait to make some more cozy, nostalgic videos for you guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye.